Now, I've been giving the new Squelcher set a go online, and honestly, I think the set that it has is perfect. But even with this perfect set, I've still seen a handful of players who use it in a rather embarrassing sort of way. So to hopefully remedy this situation, I'm going to give a quick tutorial on everything you need to know about the Jet Squelcher and its new set. The Jet Squelcher comes paired with the Toxic Mist, or Poison Mist as Sheldon would put it, and the Tensor Missiles, both which have replaced the Splash Wall and the Ink Strike respectively from the original version of the Jet Squelcher in Splatoon 1. Oh yes, I almost forgot. If you're not at least level 17, get lost. Sheldon doesn't think you're ready to use a Jet Squelcher, so I know you're not fresh enough to watch this video. So do yourself a favor and get lost before I embarrass you. But to those of you who are, let's continue. Now, the Jet Squelcher has a base damage output of 32%. This means that it'll take you 4 shots to splat a single opponent, and without the effects of damage up or defense up, this will remain pretty consistent. However, when using the full range of the Jet Squelcher, your damage output will drop from 32% to 31%. This may not seem like a big drop in damage, but in an online scenario, this can turn your 4-shot splat into a 5-shot splat. Sadly, the shooting range doesn't do a very good job at reflecting this, so you'd only be able to experience this when you're playing online. And normally when that happens, it's too late, you decide this weapon is trash, and you drop it altogether. Without the effects of any ink saver main abilities, the Jet Squelcher is capable of shooting ink continually for about 8.5 to 9 seconds on a full ink tank. However, without the effects of any ink saver sub, directly after throwing your sub weapon on a full ink tank, this time is reduced to 2.5 seconds. What I want you to understand from this is that your sub weapon is to be used in a safe location. You should never feel that it's okay to use your sub weapon as a means of escape. For gear abilities, I strongly recommend using Ink Saver Main as a main gear ability rather than a secondary gear ability for whatever outfit you decide to use. This will help remedy the Jet Squelcher's ink consumption while at the same time giving you more leeway after using your sub weapon, which uses up about 80% of your ink tank. Speaking of sub weapon, Ink Saver Sub is another ability that I strongly recommend using as a main gear ability rather than just a secondary gear ability. Now, if you play anything like me, which honestly I hope you don't, you'll use your sub weapon a lot. And by a lot, I mean a lot. Like, I probably use it way more than I use my main weapon. Now, I really only recommend using Ink Recovery Up as a main gear ability if you have Ink Saver Main and or Ink Saver Sub as main gear abilities as well. Otherwise, you should just throw it in as a secondary gear ability. Other gear abilities you should also look into are Sub Power Up. This is more so if you heavily rely on your sub weapon as much as I do. Special Power Up should only be used if you're using Ink Saver Main in conjunction with Special Charge Up. Respawn Punisher is another ability you should look into. However, since you're affected by its effects as well, you should play more passive rather than aggressive. For controls, I highly recommend using motion rather than analog. This is simply because most range weapons, like the Jet Squelcher or even a Charger, rely on your accuracy. And your accuracy tends to be higher when you're using motion control over your accuracy when you're using analog. But if you're used to using analog, then ignore what I just said, because your accuracy is probably better with analog rather than your accuracy with motion. For your sensitivity, I recommend leaving your motion at 0 and your stick at 1.5. Personally, I have both on 2. This is because I've adjusted to being able to look around fast and react quickly rather than worry about the accuracy from acting at a distance. Now, the Jet Squelcher has the longest range out of all shooters in the game, and this is by no means an understatement. Using Starfish main stage as a reference, you can see that the Jet Squelcher is capable of covering the entire length of the stage itself, whereas other long-range shooters, such as the Splattershot Pro, unfortunately are unable to complete this task. The Jet Squelcher also does a really nice job at challenging the Charger class. However, don't get a swelled head. The basic Splat Charger is capable of covering the entire length of Starfish main stage and some, so while you will be able to challenge the class itself, they still outrange you. Another thing to keep in mind, the Heavy Splatling shares the same range as the Jet Squelcher. However, due to its strength, you should never take the initiative and challenge one head-on. A few words of advice. If you see an opponent using their special, be sure to challenge them, whether it be a Stingray, Inkjet, or even the Baller. Your range will help you do things that your non-squelching teammates can't. When using the Tensor Missiles, you have about 10 seconds to launch it before you waste it and launch nothing. Also, when launching, try to catch at least 3 squids. You never know what you might catch. And that about wraps up this video. I'm probably never going to make a video of this quality again, so don't bother subscribing.